Our guest today is Martin Rowinski. He's the co-founder and CEO of Boardsi, an executive recruitment firm that helps executives connect with companies. They're looking for trusted, vetted, and experienced boards of directors and board of advisors. In just 3 years, they have helped a global community of 4,500 executives match their skill sets with extraordinary opportunities with marquee businesses. Martin is an experienced technology executive with 25 years of experience in leadership, strategy, business development, and process improvement. He's very passionate about helping businesses find exceptional executive talent to scale and grow their businesses. Martin, welcome to our show today.
Christopher, thank you. I am so excited to share my story and where my passion comes from. Looking forward to it.
So I always love hearing about backstories, and obviously there was a whole application process, and hearing your story about coming from Poland, which I love Poland. I have one of my favorite friends in the world. Her name is Juliana, giving her a shout out. She's from Gdansk. But
hi, Juliana.
So she's one of those people that is adventurous, ambitious, kind, great culture, great person. And literally I thought, if every Polish person is like her, then Polish people are amazing. And I say that because when you mentioned about your backstory, it's like, wow, you have those same elements as Juliana. Yeah. You have this kindness in you. You always have this ambition, but it wasn't always like that, right? So tell us a little bit about how you grew up in Poland, formerly Soviet Union.
Yeah, thank you. No, it wasn't always like that. Not to complain about my childhood. From what I remember, it was great. But from young age, I remember being in Poland, and I knew that there was just something not right for me. Just seemed like for me, I was meant for more. Like there was just so much communist structure and so many restrictions, and I just felt like I was boxed in, even as a kid, being told, mostly by my mom of what I can do, how late I can stay out, just little things that here we take for granted as being kids. So that seemed always to kind of bother me.
You talked about having literally these coupons, this book of coupons. Yeah. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so that was that's another, that was rationing. So what they did, Poland was exporting more product than they were keeping for ourselves. And most of it was being exported to Russia, which is kind of funny, to support their rationing needs, but at the same time starving their own people. So they basically rationed us with what kind of was like a coupon of how much sugar you can buy, how much bread, how much milk, how much meat you get. So it didn't matter whether you had money or not. And the other one was gasoline. That actually, having that ration helped out my mom. And this is where I kind of learned, that, hey, there's ways to get what you need if you get, creative. And for us, we didn't have a car. So obviously we didn't need the coupons for gasoline. So my mom would trade those for other things. So we could have bread. But the thing that really sticks out for me, and another learning point for me, was why get up early? I would get up early. My mom would ask me, hey, can you go to the store before they open? And I'll be there before they open. Just get a place in line so that we have a better spot and a better chance of getting the necessary things we need. So at an early age, I learned that there is a benefit to getting up early and getting going.
And it's crazy to think about that, right, Martin? Because you literally had to get online early. Because what if you didn't get online? What would happen?
The shelves would be empty by the time we would get in. Yeah, literally empty. They were already almost empty anyway. So yeah, it was really sad.
And do you feel that lack of things and having people say you can only do this or only do that, how did that help you grow into who you are now? Because you're a very successful entrepreneur, but when you're a kid, did that help you move you forward, motivate you? And obviously you want to care about your parents, because over our conversations through the various weeks, you always mention your mother. So what was some of the driving force for you when you're growing up to be more successful?
Yeah, my mom was the driving force. When we actually came to US, it was just me and my mom. My dad did not come to US. He stayed back. But so she was a huge driving force. She really wanted more for me. And having that experience, I think, of having lack of things or being limited to it, for me, and this happened obviously right as soon as we got into Italy before we came to US, but both Italy and US were just, to me, it was just mind-blowing that, the appreciation effect, the things that a lot of kids that I see in US just take for granted. Why? Oh, I got 50 pairs of Nikes shoes just because I can. I was lucky if I had one pair of shoes with no holes in them. So that appreciation effect of what you earn, what you receive for the hard work that you put in, but it's available, it's accessible. You just have to work for it. I think that had a huge impact for me and what I do these days. Absolutely.
So let's go from when you're in Poland having these rations and these coupons, where you mentioned you were in Italy. So there's a funny story you shared with me about Italy. Talk to us about that and your sister, I think.
Yeah, so there's actually two little stories, and I'll go through them real quick. So first, when we got in from Poland into Italy, we stayed at a Polish Catholic church. That was kind of our base in the beginning, which was in Rome. And I remember after we settled in the room, my mom said, "Hey, let's go out and explore. We're in a whole new country, and here I am, 10 years old, just." Neither me or my mom speak Italian or English. The only language we know is Polish. But here we are, we're going to go wander around a foreign country. But one of the first things I saw was a fruit stand, and just all the different fruits, and exotic fruits, obviously extremely exotic to me, because bananas, I don't even remember seeing any bananas in Poland. So yeah, that was the initial experience. And then the second experience was when we went to Milan and stayed with my sister for a while. My sister is 11 years older than I am. So she's been living in Italy for some time now. She made that her home at that point. And we went to visit her and stayed with her. And I was not known in Poland for eating. Even if my mom had food, chicken, whatnot, I just would refuse to eat it. I basically grew up on milk and eggs. Those were my two foods. And I drove my mom crazy, absolutely crazy. So we get into my sister's, and my sister's making dinner, and she's grilling up steaks. I mean, out of all things, medium rare, like a steak should be, just my opinion. But she's grilling up the steaks, and my mom's like yelling at her, going, "What are you doing? You're wasting meat. He's not going to eat it. He hasn't eaten any meat in 10 years. And so my sister said, "Just be quiet. Let me just do this. Maybe he'll eat it just because of me." So I'm actually listening to this whole conversation. So I'm like, "Yep, I'm going to eat it just to eat it, because my mom said I'm not going to eat it." So in spite of my mom said, sure enough, I bit into that first steak, and man, the things I've been missing out on, that was awesome. That was delicious.
See, what's so fascinating, Martin, is, again, I asked you to share that story because ultimately all of life are frankly memories, and what you remember becomes life. But when you think about the fact that you had nothing or very little as a kid, and then you go to Italy and you meet your sister, and she essentially is like a savior, if you will, or a role model, and she starts showing you things that you might not have experienced. But from that, that's frankly what you do now as an executive, as an entrepreneur. So you go from Poland with rations and coupons and being hungry to Italy, where now you see the possibility. And finally, let's talk about when you came to the US. Where was that transition, and how did you end up coming to California?
Yeah, so we were fortunate enough. My aunt, so one of my mom's sisters, traveled to, actually, she took the exact same route. She went through Italy and then came to California. Different purpose, but it worked out great for her, and it worked out good for us, kind of laid that foundation down. She had to leave Poland because her son needed a warm climate, and California was recommended. So even though being a communist country, because it was recommended by the doctors who had a child that was literally dying, and they said, hey, this is his only survival. And so my cousin did come with his mom, and that was our home base. That's where we basically started out, which was in Alameda in California. So that was our home base where we came. And by the time I got here, since we're talking about memories, by the time we got here, I pretty much grew out of all the clothes that I had. So my mom went to a thrift store and got me a pair of chick jeans. So I went to school first week, might have been my first day. I'm not sure exactly what day it was, but I went to school wearing chick jeans, tight chick jeans. So, call me a kid from the future or a trend starter. Definitely wasn't popular back in those days. So that was the start of my US. But as far as appreciating everything from the get-go, going to a store, no shelf was empty, everything was accessible. The only memory I've had of Poland, and you might laugh at this too, is during COVID when we were all out of toilet paper. That was like, whoa, am I back in Poland? Joke. But yeah, that was I told everybody, I'm like, man, we're only missing toilet paper. Don't worry. As long as we got food, we're good.
No, but see, that's a great perspective, right? So we
Yeah.
have literally listeners from 92 countries, and just so that they know, Alameda is in the East Bay, which is part of the Bay Area. So when you say you're in technology and you've been a technology executive, just so that our listeners know that you're not just some technology guy, but you're in the core base. When they talk about Silicon Valley, that's just north of Silicon Valley. So talk to us about what you feel you've learned over 20 plus years of technology in literally the mecca of technology. It's just like New York City, you have Wall Street, on Wall Street, where I used to work. Now you're in Silicon Valley and in that area, San Francisco Bay. I mean, what do you think are some things you learned there that's allowed you to really create your current company now as Boardsi? So let's talk about, again, your both work experience as a technology person. What was fascinating about working literally in the Bay Area where so many companies like Yahoo and Facebook and Google and the list goes on, and obviously the Elon Musks of the world and Mark Zuckerbergs, and you literally had a front row seat. You're in that world. So what are some things that you learn as a leader, as an executive, from living and working in the Bay Area?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in technology. I started when I was 13 or 14. I got a Commodore 64 after begging for it for about a year. I finally got it. And that was pretty much the beginning of my first time touching a keyboard and touching a keyboard to this day. And of course, I progressed from there into IBM 286, and then I ended up actually had to learn Unix. It was a dialer called EIS, and that was my first time big position in the IT. I was an MIS director, but they hired me on for what the potential that they saw, and then I had to literally train from the get-go because I was not familiar with Unix. But I think being raised around those types of executives, and actually since my young age, since about 20 at company levels, just being entrusted with big projects that maybe a lot of people would have been like, I don't want this position, that's too much over my head. I just literally took everything on. If they offered it, I said yes, and then learn as I go. And if I didn't pick it up in college, I picked it up in books, and and then just in practice. So technology just came naturally to me, and I understand it, and still to this day it becomes very helpful, even as a CEO of a technology company. And sitting down with the web developers really helps me out understanding it.
Yeah, what's interesting, Martin, is when I interview Elon Musk, which is one of the most successful tech people in the world, I asked him, so in South Africa, where he's from, you have people like Nelson Mandela and Charlize Theron and a guy named Dr. Patrick Soon-Chong, who's the wealthiest doctor in the world. And I said, so what is it about South Africa that makes people like you? And he literally said, this is the first question I asked him, Martin. And he says, well, actually, there's so much in the US. So he literally pivots to the US, doesn't talk about South Africa, but he came to the US for opportunities in Silicon Valley, just like you did, maybe unknown to you, whether Steve Jobs is raised in Cupertino and he's able to work with Hewlett Packard, or Elon Musk literally goes there, or Mark Zuckerberg. But what I'm saying for our listeners, I don't know if they know the caliber of talent you've worked with, which allows you to really understand what you're doing now, which is a company that you've created called Boardsi. Fascinating firm, fascinating skill set and service, which is literally you help your executive recruiting firm, but it's such a unique thing where you literally help people match them with board of advisor or board of director positions, which is a great branding. It's also great to build companies. But talk to us about the origins and the genesis of your current company, Boardsi.
Yeah, so I not getting any younger, haven't figured out how to reverse that yet. So of course, having some success with my startups, having a lot of success for the companies I have worked with, and being as passionate as I am, I felt like, hey, you know what? I think it's time for me to go and become an advisor. And I went out and I looked, and I couldn't find an easy way to connect with opportunities. So I talked to some of my past partners with other ventures, and we decided to create it. And so here it is, Boardsi. We've basically been working with executives, building our private network, working with companies, and if there's no executive within our private network that matches for what they're looking for, we do have 5 other million executives in our database with all the skill sets and everything listed, and we'll ping them and let them know, hey, there's an opportunity possibly for you if you want to talk to us. So we're always looking to add to our private network and trying to find the executive that would fit the position that the company is searching for.
Yeah, it's just your skill set and your service, Martin, is like a next level, because again, I've heard of executive firms that hire CEOs or COOs, but the fact that you focus on board of advisors and board of directors, it's such a unique thing. So it came from more of your desire to help and be advisor, and you realized there wasn't a niche, and therefore you created this solution for the niche that you didn't really have help in yourself. Is that the main reason why you created the Boardsi?
Absolutely. Yeah, I basically felt like there wasn't enough out there to work this. We did along the way find some companies in UK that claim to do the same thing. Not sure exactly how they do it. We have a 2-tier, we have a platform, but we also have a hands-on approach in helping the match process. So I think we're very unique and very nichey, and not too many people have heard about this niche, like you said yourself, and we're trying to be heard. So.
And again, I literally wrote a book on networking, Martin, about billionaires and executives. So I've met a lot of people, and yet I've never met someone like you. And that says a lot, because like I said, I've met a lot of people. And that being said, the 2 types of people you work with is you have executives that might not even know why they should be a board of advisor, board of directors.
Yeah.
And you have companies that you get hired to actually match those. But just from a purely branding standpoint, you're the first person that mentioned this to me, where I was like, wow, it makes so much sense, because some people might want to write a book or be featured on Forbes, which are all great things. But when you're actually a board of advisor or board of director, that really elevates you to, like, just like when you talk about someone being a philanthropist, they immediately already assume you're wealthy. But when you're a board of advisor or board of director, they also immediately assume that you're high level, so you can be an executive, but that's like the next level. So it's just a very unique brand that those who are listening right now, if you are an executive, I highly encourage you to reach out to Martin, because of the fact that it elevates your brand. Because bluntly speaking, I've given over 1,000 interviews just on the podcast. I've given even more for philanthropic work with Elon Musk or Buzz Aldrin. I've given it in my own business. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't stand out. And out of the thousands of people I've interviewed, Martin, you literally are the only person that's created this very specific firm for a very specific industry, where I was surprised, frankly, that it's even available, but it makes so much sense. So for people listening that are executives, definitely consider reaching out to you, Martin, because it allows them to not just elevate their brand per se, but these great opportunities. And then for companies, I mean, when they work with you, what do they usually look for in terms of some of these executives you work with? Because you have literally this base of 4,500 executives.
Yeah, so I call it the magic effect, right? They're looking for the magic, which is, in essence, what we're looking for. Because in magic, realizing that what a company goal is from our company point of view and the other company, if we can match up the two, meaning finding the executives they're looking for, that's magic. So in being funny, but yeah, so we have companies that come to us and they might be looking for one to replace one board of directors. They might be looking for one advisor or a couple board of advisors. But I'll use I can use a perfect example. We just had a company that for 3 months, they went through a process of looking at about 200 different executives and finally settled on building. So they went from initially saying, yes, I want an advisor, to realizing what this could possibly mean for them and building a board of advisors, and ended up recruiting 6 advisors through our network.
That's amazing. And how are you able to scale so quickly, frankly? You've done this for just 3 years. Obviously, you have 20 plus years of technology experience, but anyone that says, wow, in 3 years, that just shows your prowess. But in 3 years, how are you able to bring in so many 4,000 plus executives to be part of your dream of helping other people?
Laid out a really good plan. I have awesome, hardworking partners, hired the right people, Everybody believes in what we do. We give them a lot of power. We take their input. We keep building better, quicker systems in place. So a lot of things that we were, 2 years ago we were doing manually are now automated. So obviously there's a lot of automation options out there, CRMs and all the different tools for scheduling a point. We just utilize every tool possible to streamline everything, and just being very aggressive with our marketing and approach of branding. So
that's great. When people watch this video, there will be executives, there will be companies, but there might be aspiring executives. So when you want to share your message with people, because again, you have so much knowledge up here and over here, what are some suggestions you have for someone who wants to be an executive or might aspire to be a board of director or advisor, because sometimes they're not even aware of those terms. So just the whole structure of a company, you have the board of directors, board of advisors, you have the C-suite, and then you have the mid-management, and then you have management, and then you have the employees. But what are some advice that you might want to give to people? Because again, when you're talking and working with your clients, you're essentially advising them. So when you want to find good talent, what are some suggestions you have for our viewers to really help them understand how to find good talent?
Absolutely. So the most people that we work with on our network, as far as executives, they're C-suite executives. So CEOs, CFOs, COOs. If somebody aspiring to be that executive, I think they have a road ahead of them, obviously. Unless you're going to be an entrepreneur, then you become your own CEO. That's pretty much laid out. If you're ready to step up, meaning, okay, maybe I was a CEO and I retired, or I was a CEO of my own company and I got bought out, and I have plenty of time on my hands to help out other companies. And now looking to do board of advisors, board of directors type of work, I highly recommend education, learning about governance, getting certified. If you simply Google any of those things, you'll find plenty of education. We're working on that ourselves to help out guide people and actually trying to internalize our own education processes. That's coming soon. But for now, I would get education, get certified, be ready. And I just did a webinar on board documents. Get your board documents ready, be prepared. When you're looking at a position like a CEO, you have your executive CV. Executive CV is going to be different than a board document. Anything to do with executives or your standard CV, you're going to be looking at management role. So your CV is written more in a management style. What you want to do for a board is you want to have that written more of a leadership style. Express your leadership abilities. How can you be a strong leader? Because remember, a board member doesn't actually jump in the CEO's desk and start working. No, they're going to lead them how to do that work, or they're going to come up with a growth strategy, but not actually do any hands-on work. So it is different, and the documents should represent different as well.
That's a great point of distinction. This is why they hire you, because again, it's such a nuanced industry, and it's literally at the top. That alone, I'm frankly learning myself that I've been asked multiple times to be on a board advisor many years ago, but now hearing you say that, it makes sense. Again, for the executives that are watching, definitely something for you to consider and working with Marn. Now, the last thing that I want to share is this. You just shared your past story about rationing and having these coupons and your dear mother, and then going to Italy where you met your sister. And it really has just dawned on me the fact that since you lacked so much as a kid and there wasn't commerce because it was literally a communist country, and now your dream is not just helping people, you're helping people create companies that have this commerce minded set, this capitalism mindset, which is so inspiring, because you're not one-to-one to help. You're literally one to many, and you can literally change the world with every single company you have. So is there a lesson you want to share, a story you want to share with us about how you really help your clients, so that the people watching that are either businesses that want to work with you or CEOs that want to work with you? What's one story you can share with our listeners today?
Absolutely, Christopher. So the story I told a second ago about the guy and this is the most recent one, so it's on my mind, that just built a board of advisors, went from wanting one board member to now all of a sudden built 6 of them. What he said to me at the end, when he basically just wrapped up all the executives into that role, just stood out to me, Christopher. He said, "You just made my dreams come true."
That's a perfect way, Martin, to end our show today, because again, what more can we want in life where you get to serve, get to make a living, and make people's dreams come true? Because it's not easy to find one person, but to find six in a short amount of time is even harder.
Yeah.
But that's due to your prowess, your experience, your expertise, but really, most importantly, your heart. You have this deep driven heart that you want to help people. So I encourage everyone to learn from you, Martin. Thank you so much for being on our show. Have a great day.
Thank you, Christopher.